What's up, family? This your boy King Elvay for to drop some knowledge on your head today. I'm just gonna drop some knowledge on you, help you understand. I just be dropping this science on you. You know, a lot of y'all need these litigation skills, so I'm gonna be teaching how to litigate, how to have what I call effective communication. When you're dealing with something and you're trying to articulate a particular standing or a particular proposition, then you got to understand what you're doing and how to be moving with this family. So I'm gonna drop this knowledge on you today. We're gonna start with some case law, and I'm just gonna break some stuff down for y'all so y'all can understand some of this information. As you know, I drop this on your lap so you can see what's necessary when critical thinking. I told you that life is a thinking man's sport, and this is a critical thinking exercise. So let's get into this information as I drop this knowledge on your dome this morning. So, hold on. Oh man, I didn't cut out the case. I was trying to share the screen and I end up cutting out the case, but I'm gonna get the case right back. Gonna bust some heads. Uh, bust some heads. Let me bust some heads. So let me share the screen, family. Let me go ahead and share the screen. Let me show you some stuff as I share the screen. All right, let's go. Now, let's go to the case. We're going to go here, right? So, what y'all got to understand is you're not taking privileges or duties from privileges and benefits of the United States. Don't get that twisted. Only particular folks get particular benefits. So we're going to get into this. We're going to get into this case as I break it down. It says neither it nor its offerers are being endowed by the appropriation with any special or exclusive privilege or immunity or franchise. So they're talking about the case. So this is a case that I looked up. Um, Breaking it down, right? And then it says it defines as a privilege as defined by the standard dictionary is a particular benefit, favor, or advantage, a right not enjoyed by all, a special right or power conferred on or possessed by one or more individuals in degradation of the general right. So, what is degradation as we go to the etymology of the sense of the word? A act of impairing an effect in whole or part. A a a partial abrogation of law, right? To take away, to detract from, diminish. So, what are they saying? When you have a particular privilege, right, the general law doesn't apply to you. And what they're saying in this case, in your status, this is not being offered. You're not getting offered a privilege or a benefit from the United States because you're not a beneficiary. So when people talk about that you're getting privileges and benefits of the United States, they don't know what they're talking about. You're not getting privileges. You only have when in case law where there is no obligation or duty, there is only immunity. So let's go. It says an immunity is freedom from a duty or penalty. An immunity. A franchise is a special privilege in emanating from the government by a legislative grant and vested in an individual, person, or body politic or corporation. This appropriate act imposed a duty. You're not it imposed a duty, an obligation. So they twisting the words around to confuse you to think that you're getting a benefit, but really you are having an obligation or a duty. It does not confer a privilege. It furnishes the means for a compilation of data and collection of Arizona specifically for the benefit of and open to the public. It's open and it's for the benefit of government and owned by the territory. So the territory is the state. So all you guys who think you don't own nothing, everything is registered and owned to the state for for the benefit of government and for their predecessors or for their associates or contractors, whoever you want to be, their obligees, whose contract to benefit from these contracts. Let's further. It does not grant something in derogation of the general right or to be enjoyed by the few instead of the all. It does not free the society from a duty, any duty or penalty. For a practical purpose, the society becomes a public agency. So all your strongmen are nothing but public agents, an executive instrument of the government, a convenient means for accomplishing an end deemed by the legislator in its wisdom to be useful to the public and to end of an end of a kind which been generally and frequently promoted by legislative enactments throughout the United States, applying therefore the principle deduced in Bennett versus Nichols super, we are satisfied that the legislator did not trespass beyond the pale of rights subjects of legislation either generally considered or with specific reference to its inhibition of the Harrison Act. So we know what prohibition, what is inhibition. Let's go to inhibition. I can look it up in Black's Law. A feeling that makes someone self-conscious, a voluntary or involuntary restraint on a direct expression of an instinct, the act of inhibiting, restricting, or hindering a process. So let's go back. So when we talk about due process of law as it relates on a substantive and procedural, that means the court have an obligation and a duty to you. So a lot of you guys are running around here talking about y'all got these the court has a duty and an obligation, that you receive in benefits and privileges. No, you are under duty. So a lot of y'all don't understand this is a military campaign that you're under. That's why the military flag, you are part of the militia. Once again, let's go to the Ohio Constitution. This is the Ohio Constitution. All citizens, residents of the state being 17 years of age and under the age of 67 shall be subject to enroll in the militia and the performance of military duty in such a manner not incompatible with the Constitution of the United States and may be prescribed by law. So what's in kind of we're gonna talk about the word um, incompatible. What does that mean? What does that mean? If something is not compatible, I don't want to mess that up because we got to go through that. I'm not going to try to make these videos super long because it's too long. People don't like to watch videos that's super long. It says that cannot coexist or be conjoined, right? So if something can't coexist or be conjoined, it's incompatible. So we got to understand what's going on when you talk about the word identity. A lot of y'all are identifying with the thing. You saying you are the thing, right? You are the thing. You are the straw man. You identify as a straw man. So you have to make yourself outside of that. So what they did is they gave you a corporate construct where everybody have a right to self-determination, and you should self-determine that you were a U.S. citizen. There is under contract, there are several statutes that you can get in to show, but I really want you to understand the word commerce in connection with this. So what I want to do in this case, right? This is a powerful case. And what I'm trying to show people is where there's no obligation or duty, there's only immunity. And based upon your status, see, it's all about classification. A lot of y'all, when y'all go into court, y'all do not know how to present yourself, or it's nothing but presentments and representments. It's already a record that's been construed, and all the record you're doing is representing the record. You're in a court of record. The court purpose is to make you whole before the injury. So you have to understand due process. This is why I don't get into certain things when I deal with the court as it relates to due process of law, as it relates to a evidentiary standard. A lot of y'all I've litigated over a lot, over 100 cases. I'm used to communicating with the court and understanding how to formally communicate. The issue is they're going to try to a lot of times press the issue and get a judge that's more favorable towards them. And you have to understand how to deal with these issues and understand what's necessary. So we're going to talk about some key elements as it relates to getting certain things that's going under particular evidentiary standards. Um, One I like to talk about is in the Ten Commandments is thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. So let's go to the term. Let me see. A lot of y'all don't like to falsification. And there's offenses against justice and public administration. So no person shall knowingly make a false statement or knowingly swear or affirm the truth of a false statement previously made when any of the following applies. This statement this statement is made in any official proceeding. The statement is made with purpose to incriminate another. This statement is made with the purpose to mislead a public official in performing the public official's official function. So a lot of times you get in trouble with the police, or the police make a false statement. Um, there's a lot of things that you can do as it deals with that. So what you guys have to do, understand when we're dealing with this information, how to get things done. And your boy King Galvay going to be putting something together to show you or provide a service for you to be able to deal with anything: child support, foreclosures, criminal cases, all of these different things. Because you need to know everything. I told y'all the law follow the property. And one thing you have to understand what you're up against, you have to understand this property law. Y'all need to understand. So it says Property Law Act. It says Property Law Act. The Parliamentary Council Office have made this. Let me see who made this. I don't know. This act is administered by the Minister of Justice. Oh, no, that's not in the United States. So we're going to talk about property law. Y'all need to understand property law governs personal interests in property. This is what you got to understand with property law. And this is why the government always saying that they got a vested interest, because everything is done through some form of licensing or leasing, right? This is why it's called legal leads. Legal leads. Legal leads. But it's really legal lease. And what is a lease agreement? By definition, we're going to go into, it's really this. And what y'all need to understand is really what you're doing is a battle of the forms. It's all these different forms. Forms, substance over form. And you have to look at what's really going on and what is the substance that they're talking about. So it's called the battle of the forms. So lease agreement. So let's go with the meaning. Meaning. A contractual agreement by which one party conveys an estate and property to another for a limited period, subjected to various conditions in exchange for something of value, but still retains ownership. You see what I'm saying? So it's legal lease. All this property right is being leased and licensed. So when you license something out, you retain ownership of it, but you give somebody else the right to use it under particular or strict conditions, right? So everything that you have, from your children, your house, your car, everything, you just have what they call a right of use. See how many minutes? Let me see. I'm trying to keep it short. Trying to keep the timeline. I don't like these long videos because people don't watch long videos. Ain't no timeline. 19 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep it within 30 so you guys can watch it and absorb the video as I drop this knowledge on you as I relate to the information, family. And we're going to get into this And for Moors, you got to understand how to simplify this information. And this is where you got to you got to know the Constitution. So I'm just breaking it down and giving you various key points of what you understand. What they got you under is a false record, a false narrative, and they cannot under the covenant, they can't bear false witness against you. So there are certain things once you put in the record that has to be. There are certain things that have to be identified in order for them not to bear false witness. So that is falsification, perjury, right? False swearing. Those are all criminal offenses that can be utilized because that's what it really boils down to in this arena. They're using um, commercial property or intellectual property, which is Federal Reserve notes, which you're paying for as a tax onto using that money. They're taxing you. They can't tax your labor. They taxing your possession of the money. 9/10 of the law is possession. The other 1/10 is trust. So these are falls under antitrust laws that you guys got to understand. Now, get back a little bit. I'm trying to get into this case a little bit as I'm breaking this down to give you, as I jump around, I'm trying to give you a better sense of what to critically think about and what to be looking for when dealing with this stuff as it relates to questions of law, as it relates to you having an obligation and a duty to the United States. It says in this case, is the appropriation in this is for such a public purpose as to render it a rightful subject of legislation. Under the provision of 1851 of the revised statute of the United States, by reason of the fact that the recipient of the appropriation is a private corporation, is the appropriation with the inhibition, what that means, that's a block of the Harrison Act, prohibiting territorial legislation from passing special laws granting to any corporation, association, or individual any special or exclusive privileges, immunity, or franchise, whatever, right? So, this is what they're saying to you, right? I told you where there's no obligation or where there's no obligation and duty, there's only immunity. So, the states cannot grant you, they are blocked from granting you any special rights, privileges, or immunities. They can't grant it to you. They don't have the legislative power to give it to you. They can't grant you anything that they don't have the power to grant. So you have to understand what's going on. Under the Foreign Immunity Act, right? You only immune to anything that when you're not doing commercial activity. When you start doing commercial activity, you waive your right to foreign immunity. So you have to come in as a protected class. The states can't grant it to you. It's have to be granted to you through the federal government. It has to be federal because all crimes are commercial. So it's in a commercial banking system that's owned and ran by some privateers, some private merchants as it relates to the banking system. The banking system is a particular form of commerce in which they own all the rights to, in which they monopolize. So you don't have any rights associated with that system other than what they provide you and affording to the United States as it relates to contract. You cannot have more rights than the United States in that capacity because they are what they call the original parties, having original jurisdiction in the contract. Y'all got to understand with this law stuff how it works. Okay? You got to understand how this works. So what you got to understand is they can't interfere with what they call clear perspective advantage. Interference, this is what I call interference with prospective economic advantage. As under treaty, we have a right to do commerce, but we have to set it up in our own way. We have to set up our own form of commerce. So we could create our own form of commerce as it relates to what we're doing and how we deal with other states as it relates to creating value. So let's talk about this if you are more, right? In cases of fraud, I told you falsification, that's a form of fraud. We're going to talk about contraband. Anything that violates the Constitution or treaty is considered contraband goods. That means they're banned. Contraband. So let's look up the word contraband. Let's look up the word contraband as a whole. So, goods that have been imported or exported illegally, right? That means they are banned from, they're outside of the operation of law. So anything, what you got to understand, anything, right, that is contraband, and then we're going to look at it from here, right? If it's contraband, then it violates treaty, and it violates the Constitution. And it's prohibited by law. It's a inhibition. It's blocked internally. It's not a prohibition, it's inhibition. Meaning it's blocked by law. It's a degradation. They can't, it's blocked. It's not permitted. It says contraband. If I spelled that right, make sure. Contraband. 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 It says smuggling, illegal or prohibited traffic. Smuggle goods, anything by law forbidding to be imported or exported. So that means coming in or taking out of. So when you understand that under treaties, particular things is contraband, and we're gonna get into this treaty as it relates to everything I talk about as we get in. And this is why I say, as a more, you need to understand the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and get the articles that's necessary so you can understand what is contraband, what is going on, why are this, what is going on as it relates to you, as it relates to treaty, as it relates to contraband. Okay, so let's get back into it because I'm about to get up out of here. Because yeah, this says all goods shall be weighed and examined. So you as a baby was weighed and examined. They are sent on board and to avoid all detention of vessel. So you were sent on board, and then to avoid all detention of vessel, no examination shall afterward be made. So they ain't got to make no further investigation unless it shall first be proved that contraband goods have been sent on board. What that mean? They so according to treaty, according to treaty rights. See, you guys classify yourself as black, Negro, or colored, or white. These are terms. These are terms that are corporate. These are corporate war status. So they're not contraband. They're not considered contraband. Your Moor status, they cannot, by constitution, if you are Moor, they cannot infuse you into a jurisdiction because it's considered incompatible, contraband, illegal, non by law. They cannot do it. They can't do it. It says, in which the person who took the contraband goods on board shall be punished according to the uses and customs of the country, and no other person whatever shall be injured, nor shall the ship or cargo incur any penalty or damage whatever. So it got a part of immunity in there where you don't have, where it showed you before in this case, whereas there's no obligation or penalty where you have immunity, family. You know, I just dropped this science on y'all so y'all can get it. A lot of people say that they litigate. I just sometimes I don't get into all of that. Like I said, this is your boy King L Bay. I drop knowledge and science all day. I told y'all when you really understand it, when you really have been a practitioner and really been in the courtroom, you really understand somebody that knows how to really litigate, who understand the evidentiary standard. I told you you need to understand the rules of engagement. You need to understand what due process is from a substantive and procedural level. The treaty created certain substantive due process requirements that they cannot overlook. The Constitution created certain substantive due process requirements that they can't overlook as it relates to the procedure and their movement. So, let me see what time it is. We got to go 33 minutes. So, I'm out of here, family. I told you all I do is drop smoke, fire, flames. When you see King Out Base, salute, salute. I just drop nothing but science. I give nothing but love. Peace to the guys and the family out there, to all my Moors and non-Moors, for those who are in the movement and the struggle. Come on, man, come together. Let's work together. I told you I don't do nothing but keep dropping science. Peace and love.